So the Owl House seems to be getting pretty popular recently, if you haven't noticed. I'm not sure if it's just the climate that it was released in, but as far as shows that are having a rise in original content, I've been seeing a lot of stuff in my feed. I've been paying attention, but also to be fair, production American cartoons has also been a little weird right now. See previous recap.
We are so screwed.
The numbers simply don't lie, and the new coronavirus numbers are getting worse.
More than 50,000 cases reported for the past 4 days.
This morning, cases here in the U.S. surpassing 7.8 million.
The President and First Lady have tested positive for coronavirus.
As officials brace for a tsunami of new infections.
We're all doomed!
For those who are not familiar with the show, let me give a basic recap. Here we have cute, adorable Luce the human. Here she is. She is weird. She is very weird. This is another one of those girl gets transported to a magical destination kind of stories, just a heads up. Once she finds her magic portal, she's introduced to Ida, sassy queen and all-around fun character, and King the Mini Demon, voiced by Alex Hirsch.
Avenge me, kids! Avenge me!
Ida is also voiced by the same lady who voices BoJack's mom in BoJack Horseman.
I will not be spoken to in that tone by an article of clothing. If you can think of a better plan, I'd love to hear it.
So it's one of those instances where because the actor has the same voice without any pitch changes, you have to get used to separating the characters here a little bit. Usually in animation, voices of the actors are sped up by around roughly 10%, but since both sources are coming from animation, we don't get to have that speed change. That's why Kim Possible sounds a little different from Christy Carlson Romano.
He's mopey when he plays a mopey character. I'm sure he can capture your rawness.
Some people have had that ringtone on their phone, they've told me, for like 10 years.
And John Delancey doesn't sound like Discord, for the most part. The setting is the Boiling Isles, an island setting that was built around the remains of a titan. I'm getting Pajama Sam 3 flashbacks here. Here's also your Hercules joke.
Guys, get your Titanic rears in gear and kick some Olympian butt!
There, I did it. The basic idea is that the island is weird and dark compared to some of the lighter takes of magic and witches, which is a little ironic coming from Disney, but that's kind of the idea. They did make gargoyles after all. The basic plot is that Small Bean Luce wants to be trained to be a witch, and Ida reluctantly agrees, and as the show progresses, the two develop a relationship. Eventually, Luce also starts stool training at Hexside School of Magic and Demons, which is like Hogwarts, but not Hogwarts, hence my outfit. Oof, that shade was well timed.
And now I feed!
She is normalizing misinformation and making it genuinely dangerous for trans people to exist. And that makes me mad. I don't like it.
The show is a mix between the basic episodes of character development, slice of life, and building on a bigger plot and serialized structure, which is one of my personal favorite forms of storytelling. So even though we have some basic bitch plots like a Switching Bodies episode, once the show starts to develop its own form, it becomes pretty compelling, I think. Plus having Alex Hirsch return to voice on a Disney show is pretty entertaining.
When there's no cops around, anything's legal.
So one of the big reasons this show has grown a favorable boost from the internet is its take on representation. For one of the first times in animation, and for the first time on a Disney show if you don't count subtle hints from Star Vs, we have a main character who is specifically bisexual, and a kid to boot. Not only that, some light spoilers by the way, but we have another character who is a female and very obviously and openly has a crush on Luce, something that would have been unheard of 10 years ago. And people are really responding to that kind of obvious and positive representation, especially in child characters, and good for this show. But I guess the question is this good representation? And is this enough to be realistic? Firstly, let's briefly discuss the changing demographic of representation from Western animation. Here you go. Here it is. Here's the breakdown. For starters, like most of you have probably noticed, America is kind of not good with being at the forefront with positive social trends, especially since they want to stay cool with international audiences who are not as open about same-sex representation as we are. Oof. Every time there is some kind of representation, there is this big media storm drawn to it. Once the US approved same-sex marriage in all states, though, the controversial representation and those thoughts of queer representation became even harder to justify. Hollywood itself has had a long history of queer coding to get around this mindset, pretty much throughout the history of Hollywood, especially when the Hays Codes were still a dominantly used system in the golden age of Hollywood. It is gals being pals, guys being guys.
They seem to be very good friends.
Animation is a little bit of a harder sell because, as we've talked about before, because children are more passively entertained by animation's budget cuts, animation in general became more marketed to children, and then eventually evolved to a synonym of children's entertainment until about, early Simpsons era. As far as actual representation, there wasn't really much for the show creators could do in American animation until as recently as 2 or 3 years ago, as live-action shows and their representation of same-sex and even trans characters became more openly accepted and understood. Remember, this can kind of be a culture shock for those who aren't really educated or even exposed to people all over the sexual spectrum, so many times media and entertainment again has to serve this purpose. Something that recently was revealed, for example, is in 2010's Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, the best Scooby-Doo, fight me. Velma goes through her own character arc of finding out she's gay. She's canonically gay in this one, guys, but not all the time. Sometimes she is, sometimes she isn't. She starts off by dating Shaggy, really dating him. Damn son, I was not expecting that in a Scooby-Doo show. To realizing that's not working for her, and then having a really close girlfriend relationship with Marcy, confirmed by show staff to try to show as clear as a romantic relationship as possible at the time between these two characters. We have other examples that are explored more through the 2010s, most notably Marceline and Bubblegum from Adventure Time, Steven Universe generally, and then we have Cory and She-Ra. We've talked about She-Ra too, in case you're new. Links in the description, I guess. Both of these get canonically upgraded in the last episode of all in their series. Kim and Chico doesn't really count, by the way. In all of this as well, we should also comment on the lack of male-male representation arcs. I guess it's an easier sell if it's a two-female relationship. I don't really know why. I mean, did the Gravity Falls cops count? As far as the developing loose/amity relationship, we also see it develop as a rivalry/jealousy relationship to a friendship in the course of around 10 episodes. So not only are we seeing all of this positive representation, but in the sense that these feelings that these two are having for each other is built over time and not based on the first look, something I don't think people are giving a lot of credit to personally. There's even a prom-like episode that makes the character build-up in text, not subtext, unavoidable, if all the goddamn blushing wasn't obvious enough. So, to comment more on this representation and how good or bad it is, please welcome Michaela. Confirmed trans lesbian, she went to lesbian college, everyone. She's official lesbian.
Hey KP, great to be here. In terms of LGBT rep, the Owl House is better than what most shows these days have been doing, but it's still too soon to think of it as good representation. For me, good representation involves two characters being explicit in their orientation, getting together earlier than the series finale, and staying together, like in One Day at a Time. The dance in Grom was adorable, and Luz being oblivious to Amity's gay panic is charming, but as it stands, the Owl House is still off on that mark. I'm willing to give the show a chance because everything else about it is just really that good. But I can't really say that the rep in this show is where we need it to be yet. And you and I both know why this kind of stuff is important. Giving general audiences good LGBT rep in media is a crucial step to normalizing the LGBT community in the eyes of the public. I'm a trans lesbian, but I didn't realize that I was until I was in my mid-20s. If I had a kids show with quality representation in my formative years, I might have figured all this out a lot sooner than I did and be further along with my transition by now. And that's why I want this kind of representation explicit and normalized for future generations, so that they can be well informed and free to be who they are and not have to worry about discrimination. However, most children's shows are still extremely skittish about giving us that quality rep. If the show doesn't use soft euphemistic language like special connection or enchanting dance partner, or just saving it for the series finale where they don't have to write the characters being a couple, they're designating the representation to big characters that don't appear among the main cast save for a few instances, or just pulling a Rowling and confirming it on Twitter after the fact. And like I said, the Owl House is still doing better than most of these shows. Amity is at least explicitly crushing on Luz, who, while still oblivious to these feelings, still demonstrates her bi tendencies throughout the show. It's better, but again, it's still not quite where we need to be. If the show can just jump the hurdle of will they won't they, the horrible writing trope that plagues gay and straight ships alike, and we see Amity and Luz being a couple before the series finale, then I can say it's good rep. And I am choosing to believe that the show will leap this hurdle because the Owl House has a brisk narrative pace to say the least. Sure, Amity's redemption arc being wrapped up as quickly as it was may seem odd, but it's indicative of the show's narrative philosophy of not wasting time. It's not leading you on with mysteries and maybes for 100 episodes before unveiling some shocking twist. Sure, they could have had Amity's arc or the mystery behind Edith's curse take up the whole show, but they didn't. Instead, Dana just said, "Hi, welcome to my gaming channel. Today we're going to be speedrunning the Owl House." And that brisk storytelling is what makes me optimistic that the show's LGBT rep is going to get where it needs to be. If they're willing to get all this done in a timely manner, then I'm confident that they'll get her and Luz together in a timely manner. We just need to see them become a thing and stay a thing earlier than the final season. Then I can safely call it good LGBT rep. I'm putting regularly squandered faith in you, Dana. Pretty please don't screw me on this.
Now, as much as I want to praise Owl House for being more upfront with their use of representation, although Amity's crush is never verbally stated as of season 1, there's some obvious puppy dog signs of infatuation that are consistently present in heterosexual couples' relationship development. But Luz herself, as of season 1, we haven't really definitively used the word bisexual or I like X or spectrum. Luz's sexuality was actually confirmed via Twitter, and in universe she's pretty oblivious to Amity's feelings unless she doesn't draw attention to them on purpose. I don't know. She has moments of blushing to same-sex and opposite-sex characters, but it's still very clear that the intention here might be pairing these guys up as the show runs its course, or at least teasing something. But this can all very well change as Luz is forced to solidify her feelings on anime one way or the other. We'll see, I guess. There's also the point that this doesn't have to wait to the end of the show to start developing, assuming due to the fear that networks would cancel said shows out of fear of controversy. Alex Hirsch has discussed this on Twitter, where there has been an attitude change from network heads dancing around the censorship issues where these shows are aired overseas. But now that political moods are shifting, except for places like China, damn it, China, first we long just totally got screwed up, and now it's so hard for this, I just can't. Even still, although we're not right out of the gate with Helga Pataki Confessions of Love, as far as this particular couple goes and their developing relationship, this whole notion of children characters on a Disney Channel show having clear feelings for the same-sex couples of their age is such a huge set of progress, and something that wasn't possible 5 years before the show was produced. We still have a bit to go, but we're getting there. Other character Willow in this show definitely has some two dads action going on, so yay, Willow's dad vibes. Still, we're only in season 1 of the Owl House so far though, and we've already gotten one overarching plot point covered, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. Not everything was perfect about the finale, and we still got a lot of ground to cover. So I have high hopes for season 2, I hope we get some more clarity, I hope we get some more plot points, which it seems like we will. As far as the bad guys go, not everything is about the representation. It's just part of the formula. It's part of the magic. But anyway, if you haven't seen the Owl House by this video releasing, it should be on Disney Plus, I think. If you want to see me talk more about the Owl House or whatever, you can let me know in the comments, I guess. Whatever, I'm not your mom. You do you. Okay, bye! And that's all, folks, except it's not time for the ending gag.
Don't worry, it's not like she can follow us around all day, right?
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got myself into this situation.
You're a long way from home, aren't you?
I'm not like other girls. I have snake arms.
Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please remember to leave a comment and share this with a friend or 2 or 5. Click here to subscribe, we really appreciate it. Click here to check out the main collaborator for this video. Click here to check out our video playlist for this video, where you might find similar videos that hopefully you like and enjoy. There's also a credit scroll here, where you can check out all the other awesome contributors. All their info is in the description. That's all I gotta say, KPOA!